Visit us for updates and shows at affinityxtra.co.uk.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Xtra.
Welcome to Ideologies, the place where we learn about the ideological current within our Western democracies. I'm your host, MisterMarkGee, and this is my friend, CEO of Affinity Xtra, Roger Moore. So, currently, we have the Conservative Party conference happening right here in Birmingham, and there are few key leading politicians who are vying to be the next leader of the Conservative Party. As you know, if you're living in the UK, we recently had an election. The Conservatives lost and lost really badly. Keir Starmer is now the Prime Minister. And Rishi Sunak, in his resignation speech, has pledged that he will step down to have somebody next in line to take on the reins as the leader of the political party. And in the NEC, I believe, in Birmingham, what has taken place is the candidates have pitched as to why they should be the next leader. Among them is none other than Kemi. And so today, we're just going to watch the interview. We're going to watch the speech. We are going to watch the speech, and when we watch the speech, Roger and I are going to react. Now, Roger being Roger, he will say how he feels. But my responsibility is to inform you of the ideological and philosophical beliefs of Kemi.
I'm the people's voice.
While I speak,
I'm
I
the
will
voice
just...
of the people.
Exactly. Well, voice of Roger. Anyway.
I represent.
So let me emphasize that my role is information and education.
Yeah.
Showing you the ideological and the ideological perspective and the political philosophy of Kemi while she was giving her speech as to why she should be the next leader. So you ready to go, Roger?
Yeah.
Ever since I've met her, she struck me as a Prime Minister in waiting.
I worked with Kemi closely on the Board of Trade, but she believes in Britain.
She's an engineer and she's honest and she's ready to get stuff done.
Kemi has the tenacity, the passion, the drive.
Kemi is a person to bring people together and renew not only the party but the country as a whole.
She really is the one to be trusted. She's not afraid to be unpopular, but she will say the thing that needs to happen.
This is a pivotal moment. The Conservative Party must transform like we've done before. This is our time. We are the future. I'm ready. I know you're ready. So let's renew.
Please welcome Kemi Badenoch.
It is time to tell the truth. The truth about our party. The truth about our politics. The truth about our future. For too long, politicians have been scared of the truth. For too long, politicians have hidden behind spin. For too long, politicians have told the public what they wanted to hear and then done their own thing.
So, Kemi is coming across as a no-nonsense, tell it like it is, not politically correct politician. So that's just something to note, that one thing that she has tried to do during her campaign for the leadership is, I say how it is, and whether you like it or not, no matter how ugly, I'm not going to be politically correct, I will say as it is, okay? So that she wants to be the straight talker. And one other key politician on the other side of the Atlantic who poses as a straight talker and not for the politically correct is none other than Donald Trump, the person who's vying for the presidency. By the way, we're going to be definitely looking into the US very soon. So, number one, Kemi is just personality-wise. I know there's no ideological, but just personality-wise, she says, "I'm a straight talker. I'll tell you like it is. Here we go.
Well, I say enough. It's time to remember who we are, what we stand for, and what we want our country to be. 7 years ago, I stood on this stage, so proud to be a Conservative Member of Parliament. We had just lost our majority, but our party was still in government, and that was all that mattered. But I am no longer a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed backbencher. I am a veteran of 4 government departments and a former cabinet minister. I have seen the system from the inside. Ladies and gentlemen, the system is broken. It is not enough just to be in government, because you can be in government and not have power. Without a plan to fix the system, you end up just announcing policies, doing media, and waiting for something to happen. And then you run into trouble, as this Labour government are quickly finding out.
So, guys, obviously, if you're aware, Labour has been getting a lot of backlash, haven't we? Because we discussed in the first episode, didn't we, Roger, that in the whole thing about they discovered a black hole in the finances, and so they decided to
do a conservative thing,
to do the conservative thing, which is to cut, which is something that you wouldn't expect of a Labour Party. And so she's saying Labour already getting it, they're already experiencing the heat. So here we carry on.
For us, it led to a reckoning, a historic defeat, worse than 1997, a defeat that could extinguish the Conservative Party. We have to get this right. We have to renew, and then we can regain the trust of the British people. Otherwise, the left will get more time to ruin our country.
She says the left will have the time to ruin the country. So she is right wing, right? She is right wing, left wing, right wing. So she's saying we are at war here. We are now on the defense, trying to fight back the public, to win the public, fighting to win the public.
Here's a question, for me, when it comes to Kemi. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, focusing on the left, but you need to focus more on the far right, because the far right is what's taking your votes and taking your fund away. Far right is what took them out. You know what I'm saying? The reformed vote took the conservative vote, and the reformed vote won't want you in charge.
Let's carry on.
So I just said what people said.
I actually thought it would take them longer to fall apart, but it is clear that this Labour government will leave a mess behind. We will not manage that decline. The Conservative Party does not manage decline. The Conservative Party reverses decline. Our country needs us. We must not let it down. For this to work, we need to go back to first principles. Why are we Conservatives? So much of what made me a Conservative came from my parents. My late father was full of wisdom. He used to say, "Never take your spouse for granted." He also said, "Never run for fun because you'll get bad knees."
Schumer's Boston Eye accent there.
But he also taught me responsibility. He would say,
responsibility, right? Like I said in the first episode, Conservatives is all about individual responsibility. And as you will see from what she says, is this idea of I pick myself by my bootstraps, even despite circumstances not being ideal. I did what I could do with what I had. I took responsibility. one time she was asked in the BBC interview, what's conservative about you? And she says, I believe in personal responsibility. Now, Roger, before we go on, and you alluded to this prior before we started this, you're an entrepreneur and you believe in also taking responsibility, but you also have a nuanced view, am I right, that in as much as we have personal responsibility, that we should also look back at the people behind us and try and make it easier for them as they come up, and tell us what you believe are the means in which we need to do that, other than just me looking after myself. Maybe you can explain it in the best way you can.
But I see it as, as an entrepreneur, you got to look at things like from the perspective of like, when you're responsibility, and I think it's lacking within our community. When I say lacking, it's not saying it's not there, but it's lacking in our community is the responsibility to say, you know what, I'm going to create a business that actually provides jobs for our community, that actually, I want to have a 6-figure company, not a 5-figure company where I'm happy, nice, and I can retire, but I want to create a 6-7-figure company, which actually can provide jobs for the community around, but not giving out to people.
Okay. So Kemi, I would argue.
Yeah. Kemi,
No. Let me finish.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Forgive me.
Kemi would argue that what you said, she completely agrees with.
Yeah.
What she is against, and what Conservative Party is against, is the government using their powers to it varies how conservative, how right wing you are, but like I said, right wing is small government. They say you take responsibility, whereas the left, those who are left leaning, they say we should use the powers that we have to redress any grievances and to create much more equality of opportunity, and some say much more equity as possible. Something that, so she's all for people. I would say conservatives say they're all for lifting people up. They just don't believe the government should be the means by which we do that. So the question is, if we leave everything to the free market, can people be lifted up rather than these social programs that we have enjoyed over time? That is the argument. Now, the nuance is that the Conservative Party today in the United Kingdom are not against these programs that have been developed over time that we discussed, like the social welfare and the National Health Service. But what they are against now is these services being taken advantage of, such as 100%, welfare dependency, and also the idea that if you're not paying tax and you're not a citizen, that you should enjoy National Health Service. So, but obviously there's some who are far right who would say, I remember one day Nigel Farage, he got into trouble for saying he went to GB News and he was grilled for saying that the money that's what we're paying to the European Union can't be directed to the National Health Service. And he said, I never said that. He said, and he got grilled for that. But that was a Conservative Party manifesto promise. Well, during the referendum, that the money that we are paying Europe, we're going to direct that to our social services. But obviously now we're hearing there's a big black hole which the Labour are trying to. So is there anything you want to say, or should we carry on?
Yeah, carry on.
80% of what happens to you is down to you. He was right.
Personal responsibility.
And as a GP, he taught me how to solve problems. He would say, if you get the diagnosis wrong, the treatment won't work. I miss my dad. He taught me the most important lesson of all. Never be afraid to do the right thing. No matter what people say about you, just do the right thing. My father taught me not to be afraid. I was born here, but I grew up in a place where fear was everywhere. You cannot understand it unless you've lived it. Triple checking that all the doors and windows are locked,
Wow.
Waking up in the night at every sound, listening as you hear your neighbors scream as they are being burgled and beaten, and wondering if your home will be next. When you've experienced that kind of fear, you're not worried about being attacked on Twitter.
Press pause on that, bro. But what's he saying? Back home in Nigeria, you know what I'm saying? That's how and guys, I'm just gonna put it out here. We are responsible for the information that we put out there still, you know, and I feel that sometimes it's okay to emphasize the symptoms and focus, but I don't like the coughs in my own country, because it meant that people deprivation of our country, which is actually caused by by English-based companies like BP, British Petroleum. So to really focus on, I was scared and fear. So for me, yes, I hear a point. It's a valid point, but the reason why people have been abused in the fact that basically British Petroleum, Shell Corp and all these other major companies are getting resources for next to nothing because of government deals, you know what I'm saying? So for me it's okay to focus on the symptom, but what's the cause?
So
she's not fighting the cause, she wants to be part of the cause.
Sorry,
I had to kick off there.
Now let me
that trick will be there still. Back home in Africa, I face so much criminals.
Let me do
let
me do an ideologies analysis of what you just said briefly about Africa. When we look at the African continent, people focus on one side of the coin, and I think there are two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people when they analyze Africa, they will focus more on the ineptitude and the corruption of our politicians, which we both have to agree is true. In my country, Kenya, for example, the politicians are corrupt. I would also say in Nigeria and everywhere else. That's one side of the same coin. That our politicians are not for us. And you could even say that the politicians everywhere are not for us. They're just a class of their own, taking care of themselves. So that's one coin. The other coin that you have so eloquently talked about is the effects of the economic disparity caused by, number one, years of colonialism, number one, and number two, after that, when in Africa, particularly in countries that are capitalist, the West come and take advantage of Africa's resources at the expense of the African people. That there is much people invest. There's so much investment from the Western world in Africa, but the common African person themselves does not enjoy it. So, guys, I'm not here to give what I believe, but I believe it's two sides. I'll say the two sides of the same coin.
That's just what we're saying. But I think
but there'll be a lot who would emphasize one over the other. And I think for Africa, we need to deal with both. I appreciate, for example, the fact that in Kenya, there was a time when people were protesting because the president was enriching himself. You could even see that his watches are thousands and thousands of pounds, while at the same time he's demanding that the common man in Kenya pays huge taxes to pay the IMF. And the majority of Kenyans, they went to the streets and they said enough is enough, because they see it for what it is. You are eating all the money and you expect us to cough up the little that we have. So in terms of the African continent, we can talk about that another time. It's a myriad of factors as to why. But anyway, but that was good.
But she triggered me with that one.
That was good.
Go. It just
the factors as to the factors to Africa's demise is multi-layered. It's not just one issue.
No.
It's a myriad of issues. That's something
which goes back to the Berlin conference.
And I don't think that this is not the purpose of a speech to talk about.
No. But she dropped in something which is anyway. So
which triggered you. But it's worth noting.
And bear in mind, I'm not Nigerian.
Come on. You're for the people.
We'll do the DNA test to find out where I come from, really. So anyway, so go on.
Let's carry on.
Cool.
you appreciate how rare and precious it is to live in a country with security, democracy, equality under the law, and above all else, freedom. Free speech, free enterprise, free markets, conservative freedoms, conservative principles.
So this is why conservatives are anti-big government, because the more they would argue, the more they give the bigger the government, they'll want something from you in exchange.
Okay. Yeah.
For example, if they give us all these goodies, they will want something in return. It could be you can't, in return of this, we're going to remove your freedom of speech. You can't say whatever you want, or we also see this. In fact, this is something about freedom of speech is something that I believe many might argue that it's under attack at the moment, because in as much as we're not in a communist government like decades and years before, we're seeing a combination of a partnership between the big tech and the powers that be in the political
very
sphere,
anti-Christian,
coming together you see things being removed off social media. And whether you're conservative or not, perhaps maybe freedom of speech might not be valued to you who's watching. Maybe it is, but to those who are, it's just something that is concerning. And what she's saying is the Conservative Party are the party of the freedoms that she just described. Free speech, freedom of movement, and free markets as well. So how free should the markets be, and how much government intervention is required? Because the leftists, out of their supposed compassion, they say, is there has to be levelers to make sure that we equalize the playing field. But they would, that's the argument.
You can go. You can go on. I get you now.
I am not a conservative because I studied politics at university. I'm an engineer. I am not a conservative because my family always voted conservative. I am a conservative because I have seen what happens when a country loses sight of those principles, and that must not happen here.
Hold on, press pause. Is she saying that Nigeria has lost sight of them principles?
No, UK. She's talking about the UK now.
Oh, no, but she said, I know what it looks like when those principles and that. She's still referring to her life experience.
No, she's talking about the UK.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
She's not hinted about her life experience back in Nigeria.
Well, let's see what she says. Let's see what she means.
You're a rude girl.
Let's
see what don't worry.
Let's see what she says.
But if conservative principles are so great, why aren't we in government anymore? The truth is, we lost faith and stopped acting like conservatives. We stopped being leaders and became managers. We spoke right and governed left. And when we went after Labour votes, we lost our own.
So she said, we who were supposedly on the right of the political spectrum governed as though we were left.
Yeah.
I think an example.
I agree. I do agree.
An example. You would not expect, as we did, for example, the time when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, the last Prime Minister before Starmer, was the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yeah. And
what did he do while he locked us up? He gave us freebies, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which we're now paying back through, through high taxation and inflation. And inflation came as a result. They gave us free. What was the thing that was called? The money that they gave.
Yeah, for businesses when it went through the period of
what was it called?
I'm saying I know what you're talking about.
Such initiatives, people would argue, would be expected from the left.
Yeah.
Because the Conservative, again, are ideologically small government.
They're stuck in the pandemic, though. That's why I think they were forced to be so much like that, because the pandemic broke every wall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I guess
while they were partying, but we weren't going to.
Okay, that's another one. That's another topic. That's another. Will Boris Johnson come back anytime soon?
He'll do Donald Trump in it. He'll come back as a savior.
Well, a lot of people want him back. Anyway, within the Tory ranks anyway. So
There is no greater example than net zero. We set a target with no plan on how to meet it, just so politicians could say we were the first country to do so. Now we have a net zero strategy addicted to state subsidy, making energy more expensive and hurting our economy. I am not a climate change skeptic, but I am a net zero skeptic. I did not become an MP to deliver an agenda set by Ed Miliband.
So she don't believe in global warming. That's
So
what it is.
environmental, those who are environmentalists are usually left-leaning, and the reason why is those who see climate change as a big issue believe that much intervention is required in order to kind of stave off. But the people on the right would argue that might be at the expense of our economic prosperity.
Yeah, because they think about today and they don't think about tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? It's a capitalist viewpoint, and the trash and the tread on everybody else for their own. They don't mind, but the coal spewing up in the air actually changes the environment. You know what I'm saying?
But someone would argue.
There has been climate change is real. Climate change is real.
Okay, let me play.
Yo, I'm a hippie at this, you know, people. You know what I'm saying? I fundamentally. Does she believe? Is she's? I know she's
not me. I'm the education.
Oh no. So from what she's saying to me, that she kind of believes in climate change, but she thinks that. I remember growing up as a youth, and I remember seeing, you know, the disaster with the nuclear power. I remember I was a youth there, and I can't even watch Chernobyl the series because I remember when I lived that time. And the threat of acid rain and the threat of all this, and I looked at ecosystems. You join ecosystems. I love watching my nature programs, whatever. And if we keep on with the deforestation, if we keep on of the abuse of fossil fuels and it's not other methods, I believe that it'll go a certain way. We can't keep on doing stuffy. So I'm not saying that I'm more extreme, but for me, sometimes when they talk like climate change is not real. That's just what
okay. So let me do an ideology.
And we can't ideology off.
No. Let me do another. Let me do another, because even with the issue of climate change, there's a spectrum. Now, for you as someone who's very green, as you can see from the back, someone who's very pro-green.
Oh,
pro-green. Or someone who's pro-green. You would be more wary of the Republicans who, among their cohorts, are outright climate deniers. Now, to be fair with the British conservatives, the ideologically conservative counterparts to the Republicans in the United States, they wouldn't go as far to say that climate change.
No,
but what they are wary of, what they're very wary of, is the pace in which we're taking out. Because what they are worried, what they're saying is this might rise bills too quickly. It's costing people jobs. I think Ed Miliband, he stopped he kind of stopped some couple of things that cost people jobs and all that kind of stuff. So what the British conservatives would say, and she's saying she is not a climate change skeptic, but the pace in which we are trying to get to net zero was too quick, and it might be at the expense of, if you can't afford, say for example, I don't know about you, but what they would argue is, if you can't afford a car that is green, if it's too expensive to buy such a car, you know what I mean? Why are we going to be so quick to trans? So what is? And that's another feature of conservatism. It is, in as much as they believe in change, they believe in slow, progressive change.
Cool. Okay, cool.
The left, we want it and we want it now.
Okay, cool.
Oh yes. Okay. Oh, like if the socialists had their way, there would be no slow progression to socialism. It'll be just like, bam. They wanted they're saying we need to slow the pace.
Okay, cool.
Whereas the radical left will say, as soon as we get in, we're flipping the tables.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So
no, I hear you.
Does that make sense?
It could make sense. That makes perfect sense.
Promises must come with a plan. Plans must be based on principles. That is the conservative way. But in government, we did not always keep our promises. We promised to lower taxes. They went up. We promised to lower immigration. It went up. Why? Because the Treasury said high immigration was good for the economy, but we knew it was not good for our country. And we did not always defend our values. We did not defend capitalism. Capitalism does not mean corporatism. It does not mean monopolies. It means free markets and competition. We didn't always protect those principles. Like Labour, we raised taxes on business, corporation tax, capital gains tax, we taxed dividends, and we regulated like Labour. So instead of encouraging people to start and grow a business, it got harder and harder.
She mentioned regulation. So they left on the party of regulation, right? And Labour is a party of, there's this, have you heard the statement from left-leaning politicians, especially here in the UK? Those with the broadest shoulders should carry the heavier weight, so to speak. So they would believe, just on an ideological perspective, the left will tax the rich to take care of the rest. But what the conservatives will argue is, if you tax the rich and you tax them too much, it might stifle the economy, because they're the wealth creators, and thus they will either they'll move. And so that is definitely something that people have to weigh up. And before Tony Blair, who was New Labour, the old Labour would be like, look, we're just gonna be socialists. We're gonna tax the wealth creators, and a Robin Hood kind of thing. But I think Tony Blair recognized the importance of the free market, whilst at the same time making sure that the social services are intact. So I think Blair and Bill Clinton at the time, with balanced
it nice,
because over time, especially during the Cold War, it was an ideological battle, really, between communism and capitalism. And I mean, you would agree that we want to avoid extremes. So what is the middle? But she's saying, well, no, we need to kind of stop this playing around the middle. Let's be who we are. Let's go back to our true values.
Economics is not just some technical exercise. It's about people, their hopes and their aspirations. It's how we help the poorest in society. In the 80s, our party gave this country a golden age of wealth creation. Where is that now? Look at the hypocrisy of Keir Starmer.
Who told you that, darling? Who said that? Yo, coal mine, poll tax, From your perspective, you obviously read the books, man, wrong, you know what I mean? So I was like saying, we're the cool time on the ships to the Caribbean, you know what I mean? So it was like, as far as I know from the 80s, man, you know what I mean? When you say Maggie Thatcher, where I come from, you know what I'm saying? That's a dirt word. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying she didn't do good from a different perspective, but I hear her standpoint.
Thatcher was good, but good for who?
You say that to the coal miners in Wales, in the north regions. You've got cities that are just carcasses compared to what they were. Obviously, coal has a it's not limitless. So, you know what I mean? So I appreciate that somebody had to come and make changes. But you said that we slowly do stuff. From what I could see, we had the power outages when I was a little kid. When they told us there's all that stuff going on because of the strikes. You know, you know what I'm saying? So sis, man,
strikes, which was also a feature in the last government, Sunak government, and I believe there's even more strikes to come under the Labour government as well. I'm hearing that the GPs are going to go on strike. I've heard. I read it on the news.
But the thing is, that's just a result of the past couple of years. I think it's unfair to say that everything that's happening now, strike-wise, is a Labour issue.
No. But what I'm saying is that,
but there is more. No, I hear you saying about the strikes to come. But what I'm saying to you that's a very flippant statement from her, from a very bougie, I'm in my villa perspective. But if we go back to, well, for me, gotta be careful how far you want to go with that. Was it because there's two sides? There's two sides, man.
I have a very good question for you, Roger. Mm-hmm. I think what she's saying is that at the time, just hear the question, and then you tell me your perspective. At the time, if you are a budding entrepreneur and you are a go-getter, Thatcher is for you. Now, she might be good for those kind of people. But what about those people who are not entrepreneur? It's a good question, isn't it? What are those people who just like, I want to go do my 9 to 5, go back home and feed my kids? What about those people? That's a good question. Who do you want to be good for?
Yeah.
And the Labour would say, I am for the ordinary person.
Yeah.
The Conservatives, they're posing, well, some would say they're for the real, the real up there.
Yeah.
But what they project to say is, if no matter who you are, if you have a dream, we have your back. We're going to remove anything in your way like regulation, and we're not going to tax you as much because we want you to, for your business to propel. So the question is, the dilemma is, how do we help both? On the other hand, we want to help the entrepreneurs, the wealth creators, because wealth creators comes jobs, right? But what if you're not an entrepreneur? What is there for you, right? I mean, what do you think about that?
I hear what you're saying. But the thing is, even in a system where it's focused on capitalism and entrepreneurship, anyway, people still have jobs because of entrepreneurs anyway. So people earn that. Yeah. What I am saying, this is the classic, and now I will switch off from her because what she referred to as zero, she doesn't like how it will derail the economy if you go turn to right and to left. Yeah, she talked about a period where I believed that the Conservatives turned too hard left and too hard right, and that's why Labour came in, is because they went too far with the poll tax. They went too far when it came to the people at the bottom. You know what I mean? And that's how they got voted out, and Labour came in at that period because Margaret Thatcher went too far with her reforms and so it's okay to say that's a golden period according to you, but then you just said that we can't change too much. Is zero. So she's just becoming.
So the big question is, golden era according to who? Golden era according to who? And here's my point. When you're a politician, you know you can't please everyone. So who do you want to upset the most is a big question. Who are you ready to upset? Who are you really for? Who are you really for? And who are you really happy to be upset with you because of the decision you have made in terms of who you are for?
It's clear that she's referring to people that's not in my position. She doesn't want my vote.
Why you say that? You being who? Because I can say you're an entrepreneur.
She not get my vote.
Why?
She encouraged me to get my vote. You know.
Why?
You know what I'm saying?
Wait. I want to.
Because
I know the answer, but I want you to say it. You're an entrepreneur. She says she's for entrepreneurs like you. But why is she not getting your vote?
She not get my vote because she's quite almost for me talking about periods which for people, immigrant populations and the low class and the middle low class, was hard periods and hard times and tough times, and she's brushing over it like it's never existed.
But some would argue it was also a golden time for the working class because it was under Thatcher that you could actually buy a council house. Is there anything wrong with that? You owning a home?
Yo, if that's what's called golden period, us buying council tax.
You owning something. You owning something. Is that private ownership? Is that not a good thing?
I remember people buying their council thing was, and I can't remember if that was a Conservative or Labour period because I'm sure
it was Conservative. Thatcher is the one who made it possible that if you could buy your council house, you buy it. And so a lot of people were our council houses and they had private property, which is something that they are very for, private ownership, right? Rather than the extreme collectivist way of doing things. The government owns everything and you own nothing. Isn't that a good thing to have your own plot of land? Roger?
Yeah. But then we sell it afterwards because we ain't got the education and knowledge how to make the most of it.
Let's carry on.
And we sell it back to the people that actually built it. You know what I mean? And they get it back anyway.
Let's carry on.
And Rachel Reeves, who targets savers and wealth creators while taking money from a millionaire. The Conservatives have to be the party of wealth creation. Wealth is not a dirty word. It supports jobs and families.
Yeah, man.
It pays for our schools and our health service. We should defend it and encourage it.
Yeah, man.
We
Someone is saying amen here.
Amen.
We need to stop being afraid of defending our beliefs. Those beliefs are needed now more than ever.
Go on. Let us down.
They are needed now more than ever because a new political force has risen. Something I have been fighting all my political career. Identity politics. Like the 1970s, we face a battle of ideas against the left and its desire for ever greater social and economic control. It is socialism returned. Socialism in a suit. The British public knows that socialism doesn't work. They know. But if you give it a new label, you can sneak it in. You can promote class warfare under the banner of equality. You can take freedom and choice away from families by telling them that Ofsted inspection reports are unfair. If you call communism environmentalism, you can close down businesses, block the roads, and stop people going to work. This new politics has made us afraid to defend the people who need us, like young conservatives. They tell me they are afraid to share their politics with other students because they'll be attacked.
Is it fair that there is a certain cohort of people within our community who are afraid to speak up because of what they believe? Roger, have you seen that? The fact that you might have a view.
Yeah. No, 100%. No, 100%. And I think I didn't realize
freedom of speech.
I didn't realize freedom of speech was a conservative thing.
So
I've learned from here. And this is why I'm saying I'm not pure.
Listen, in communist governments, real history, in communist and socialist governments, do you think you had a right to say whatever you want, whenever you want? No way.
No. I hear what you're saying.
And even right now in Russia, which is a post-communist country, you say something bad about Putin, you're going to jail.
No. I hear what you're saying. But then
now it's not big government. Now it's a government and the big tech telling you that if you say something dodgy on Twitter or
we'll
Facebook,
cancel it. We'll cancel.
Or even better, some people.
But they're conservatives. For me, these tech owners aren't they conservative guys?
No, see,
the rich capitalists.
With all due respect, okay. They are capitalists, but they're very left-leaning, and so if they they see something that they don't like, I'm even heard. I'm trying to be neutral here. I've heard that. I've heard somebody. How do you feel about somebody being put in prison for a Facebook post? It's happened. It's happening, guys.
Well, if you racially abuse somebody, I believe you should. I think it's criminal society. If you racially abuse somebody, it's a criminal offence, isn't it? If you racially abuse,
I don't know. Okay, maybe we need to look at what the comment was.
But the thing is,
but there is legislation against racism. I think it must be something else. Because how many even people have shown, for example, how Facebook tweaked the algorithm to favor one political side than the other. Say, for example, the way they were playing even with the U.S. election, how they would tamper to make sure that the Trumpers.
Oh yeah, of course. Listen, man, if you get the power, if you own the platform, you got the power, and that's why we've seen the likes of African Stream and different people get taken down from these tech guys
who have a political view.
We have a political view and push out there.
Censorship, freedom of speech is something that we have enjoyed over time.
Yeah.
But it's something that is now a point of discussion in our society today.
Is it council culture?
I believe. Yes.
Yeah, is it very so it's council culture has really said that, you know what,
if you don't I don't like what you say, so I'm going to cancel you.
So this is why
now the question to you guys and the question to you is that the society you want to live, where I don't agree with you, so I want you cancelled, I want you to shut up, I want you to and there's no room for redemption, there's no room for coming back. If you say one wrong thing, there's no coming back.
So pulling it aside, no, I hear you saying. So pulling it into from my church, I'm looking into churches and stuff like that still. Yeah, we have ran our churches sometimes. Some churches are almost like a communist unit where you can't debate on subjects that matters, that are discussed. You can't challenge and debate. But when it comes to outside, we want freedom of speech about our faith and say what we want, but when you come into our four walls, you got no say.
Well, it depends. It depends what church you go to.
Okay,
because not every church is like that.
No. But I'm just saying, traditionally, what's around us is like that's a doctrine.
And also,
you know what I'm saying?
let's take the church for instance. Yeah, because someone say, well, in terms of our end, we have something called church discipline, where if you're caught in sin and you're not repenting, you're excommunicated. But the other side would argue that even that excommunication is restorative in the sense that we will out you and excommunicate you, but when you repent, we will welcome you back like the father with the prodigal. We will welcome. Like you remember I'm not gonna mention them. Remember there were two rappers.
I know exactly what you're about. I know exactly.
And they were repentant. They were like, "Come home." We listen to their music.
Yeah, it's still now. You still play.
And people are even loving the music
that they're releasing now.
The restoration. Now 100%. The problem with the council culture, people argue, is once you're
in prison, lifetime.
Now, I hope I'm not giving away my neutrality, but I want to pose: is that a life you want to live, where you say one thing and your life is over?
Yeah.
But obviously, there's some things that we won't tolerate, like racism, of course.
But the thing is, council culture is you gotta be real careful. I think people need to be careful what they put out there.
But even racism, people could be forgiven for being racist, right?
100%.
You would forgive a racist.
It's education. It's poor education.
You would forgive a racist.
It's but forgive. I'm not here to put myself in hell for anybody. So whatever someone does, whether it's racial, whether it's physical, whether it's hate, you know what I mean? And that's from black, white, Asian, whoever out there still does whatever to me. Say female, to me, between them and God, their thing. I'm not taking it on board because I'm not here to damage myself and bring that out.
So what we can conclude is that perhaps cancel culture could be more attractive if there was a redemptive nature.
100%.
But I don't think there is now.
No. I know.
Because if you're gone, you're gone.
Yeah.
It's Trump, by the way, back on Twitter, by the way. Oh yeah, because of Elon Musk.
Elon
Musk.
Elon Musk, everybody's favorite guy.
Let's go, man.
That they are marked down by lecturers because of their beliefs. We have let young conservatives down. We need to defend them, champion them, and give them a party they can be proud of.
So something that she's saying, which a lot of people would argue is true in the university, is that there's a very leftist bias in universities. Guys, what do you think? Is there a leftist bias in universities?
True. They always, when you see...
Because when I went to uni, I studied politics. I actually think about it, all my lecturers were left-leaning. In fact, when I started, my favorite lecturer who actually taught me political ideology, he said, out and out, I am a socialist. Just like that. Because some lecturers don't give it away. But he was like, bro, me, I am left. And what people have recognized is that people in the right are not as treated as fairly and equally. But basically, the argument is academia has been taken over by the left. So if it's taken over by the left, is what we're learning just propaganda, or is there a wider perspective? Is there room that we can have different teachings and lecturers from across the divide? Which, funny enough, I don't know how you feel, but Jordan Peterson has created his own online university because he feels as an academic people of his ilk, those who are. I don't think he's a conservative, but he's a non-leftist. That he recognizes that even he himself, he was told to be because of the things that he taught, that he was kind of removed from certain halls of academia. So I mean, and for our conservative folks, even though we don't like them, should we shun them because of their view? Is that the kind of life you want to view? That if they have a particular way of seeing things, that rather than letting it out open and debate the ideas and obviously fight, talk and be passionate about our views, but still be still coexist, or is it that the only does the biggest argument win, but the one that loses should be shunned completely? What kind of society do you want to live? Anyway, should we carry on?
Yeah. Okay, calm down, people.
But other people need us too, like women. For too long, government stayed silent as women were sacked for saying that a man cannot be a woman. I fought for them, while Labour called them bigots.
Trans rights, ladies and gentlemen, trans rights. That has been a hot button topic the last few years.
Is that where we end up? End the stream.
Trans rights.
Okay.
So left. The people on the left are more. The left are more pro-trans.
Okay.
The right are more. A man is a man.
Family values. They call it family.
They
call it family values. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
So the left would say that there is a difference between gender and sex, that they're separate. But they would argue the gender, your sex is your gender, and so this has been a hot button topic. Roger, how do we engage with this? Because even within, I know in my church, there's some people who,
they avoid this subject. I think a lot of stations avoid this. A lot of people avoid this conversation.
But the thing is, how do we? We need to engage in a way that's compassionate.
That's the biggest part. That's the biggest problem of the past when it comes to, for me, how we've treated other ideologies of life, because technically it's ideology of life, philosophy. Is that right? Ideology or their perspective,
different
views and their choices. How do you engage them? And this is where we very I don't know if the word is very bigoted. In a way we treat other people who choose a different path, because we almost go, huh? You know me.
And our model being the Lord Jesus, he was perfect in hating the sin, but loving the sinner. I mean, a key moment is John chapter 8, when these Pharisees were like, "Yo, this woman sleeping around. The Bible says stone her to death."
Yeah, sure.
And let me show you how grace and truth worked. They said, "Okay, you guys, if you guys never sinned ever, you can stone her." They dropped all the stones, stone down. But then, if we stop there, the left would say, "See, Jesus is tolerant of her sexuality." But then he went to her and said, "Do you see anyone condemning you? Go and sin no more." So she told her the truth, but it was lavish with grace. And we as Christians, when we engage people who disagree with us, my hope that even when I talk with people I disagree with, that they know that I love them even though I disagree with them. And what is really toxic in our political world is people don't know how to manage that we can agree to disagree in an agreeable manner
and still be in the same space. You know what I mean? And still be in the same space. And it's not about going.
I don't think. But this is what I will say. Yeah. I'm gonna come out of my neutral box. I don't think politics can avail us an opportunity where we can discuss ideas and be civil. But that's where the church can come in. The church can come in and say, "We will disagree with you, but we will love you at the same time." I don't think politics can do that. Now the problem is, and I'll say this in America, is a lot of people have become so political and so into their political identity that it has somewhat eroded sometimes they're Christian. Like a lot of people have been talking about how the Trump Christian supporters, the way they can come across is not quite Christ-like. Even though their views might be, this is one thing I've learned as a believer. You might actually be of right, but you shouldn't be a scumbag and be right at the same time.
Well, as I said many times,
so
core very strong principles. Christian values are on the conservative, on the right wing. They're very strong, but the problem is with the right wing, it goes to extremity of you seeing what's happening in the world when far rights have taken charge of spaces. You know what I'm saying? And they stand there with. We've also with anti-Semitism.
Wait, you said the far right are in charge of our spaces. Some people would argue it's the far left right now who are
No. I'm talking about history. I'm talking about history. History. There's spaces like, so you got communism where you refer to so far, like, you know, we look to socialism, but also Nazis are the total opposite. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we
horrible times,
and I think that's when extremes. This is why it's a great conversation when we look at ideologies, because you've got a lot of people who are fighting for ideologies and not realizing when these guys were literally starting scraps in the streets over ideologies. You got one leader there, and people following them. Oh, we're working at the working men's club to go and kick off the force with the police and fighting police. And then you got the army fighting the police, and the ideologies are back all these. And this is why these conversations are like probably uncomfortable conversations, but hopefully people will be triggered to start to think when these guys are talking a different way and to understand. You know what I'm saying? Because
I want to make 2 points before we carry on.
Yeah. But we're going to run out of time here. So we're saying, because we need to stick to our time limits before DJ Nadlak says it as she was long.
We both can talk for England and Jamaica all at the same time.
Yeah, man.
But what I would say is this. Yeah, like when things get so heated, in the political discourse, it can be very personal, and so the person you disagree with, you kind of resent and even hate them. But we in the kingdom, even though we have our view that might be different to the person we're engaging, we have to be clear about what we believe, but loving at the same time. Because in doing so, we are actually following Christ, who was full of grace and truth. And I don't think that we cannot if we let politicians model that, it won't happen. So we as a kingdom, we need to take that space.
And it wasn't until the SNP put a sex offender in a women's prison that they understood the fight I was leading. We won that battle. Nicola Sturgeon has gone, and Labour now accepts our arguments. We are conservatives, elected to conserve what is great about our country. Thank you. We cannot sit by as the left denigrate our history and pull down our monuments. We must not be afraid, as we were in Batley. We must not be afraid to get involved, where a teacher was driven into hiding by Islamist thugs, or when the very worst crimes were committed, when young girls were groomed and raped for years in Rotherham and Rochdale, and nothing happened.
You look like you have something to say, bro. Say it. Go on. Don't hold back. The mic's there, bro.
Again, she's saying truth. And I feel like they're letting the black woman say the part that nobody else can say. And are you being a spokesman to voice?
But someone would argue that maybe she's saying that because she believes it.
Oh, she's been allowed to say it because they know that a blonde hair white guy can't go on the stage and say that. So she will say it.
But then the question, the question is, okay, listen. This is me. This is me. Out the ideology teacher box. This is me. If a Caucasian individual
said that, they'd be in trouble.
No, but should they be in trouble? If, say, for example,
I'm not saying they should or shouldn't be. I'm just saying about the I'm just saying society now will click that. If I was born, I'm not saying.
Oh yeah, they've done that. Oh yeah, they've done that. They've done that. They've done that already. They've done that. Oh yeah, they've done that. The left-leaning pages.
Yeah.
Oh.
But they're stuck now because they got a black woman saying that, so they can't click that. So it's not as bad. It's like. So she's become a spokesman for somebody else to win because she's not going to win the leadership.
Let me tell you something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just speaking from now.
That's me being cynical. That's me being cynical, though.
Let me put my ideology hat on.
Go on.
For a long time in the United States and America, the left, namely the Labour here and the Democrats, have held the black vote.
Yeah.
Conservative black pundits and politicians have been an anomaly.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, and sometimes for good reason, the left-leaning parties were those who were for the advancement.
Cool.
But now there's some like her, right, who are saying, I do not want to be, simply because I am black doesn't mean that I should be it should be assumed that I believe a certain way. And so she is actually really against identity politics to the point that, just because I'm black, that you should assume that I'm Labour. I am black.
You're black,
but I also
I have
conservative.
Yeah.
And within the black community, I have to say, on a general perspective, there's this term, Uncle Tom, that even African Americans used against folks who are among them but have a different view. So this is another thing. How do we deal with this idea of groupthink, that because I dress a certain way or look a certain way, that I need to that I will definitely think a certain way? I mean, think about the gospel rappers, for example. If, say, for example, take any Christian rapper, right? And he's on the mic and he's killing it, and he's on mute, and you can see him spitting bars, and it's on mute. You'll be thinking, he's just speaking some recklessness like any other. So you put it on and you say he's rapping Christ. Is the idea of groupthink or the idea that because I'm wearing a hoodie to church, I must be a gangster?
I hear you saying. So you say it's almost being black. You must be Labour.
This is a groupthink on a very high level, and in fact, I just wanted to put that where the groupthink identity politics. How do we as a society engage that, and why is it the expectation that because of historical factors, that because if one politician is of a different race, that they will have to only align with one party and not the other? And she's coming out of the woodworks and trying to dispel that altogether for her own reasons anyway. But we'll carry on.
Nothing happened because those in charge were scared of being called racists. And then the system hid behind the Human Rights Act and failed to deport the child abusers and allowed them to walk the streets where their victims live. Well, enough. I am not afraid. This stealthy poisoning of our society needs to stop. And let's face it, the Liberal Democrats are not going to defend our country. Unlike the left, we know right from wrong. But we allowed ourselves to be bound by aggressive identity politics, by a treasury whose rules were written by Gordon Brown, and a legal system re-engineered by Tony Blair. You may think Blair and Brown were defeated in 2010, but the truth is the left never left. It's time to make a change.
So what they're saying is the new Labour, the way Blair and Brown ran things. Blair being the Prime Minister and Gordon Brown being the Chancellor of the Exchequer, that the way of doing things have been so embedded over time that even with changes of government from 1997 to now, that the new Labour policies are still going on.
No. Legacy.
The fund that we need to go to the roots and kind of.
I hear what she's saying. But yeah, man. But yo, we're licking the time out, bro. I think we're coming to it.
One more.
I know you're enjoying it.
Ministers need to be able to make decisions that aren't endlessly challenged in the courts. If people don't like those decisions, there are elections. If the law says the government can't deport a foreign child abuser, then the law is an ass.
So yeah, I think one other factor within the British political landscape, I will end with this, is that in as much as we are in the European Union, we are also we're still under the European Court of Human Rights, and what the Conservatives are appealing for is to kind of get out of that and have our own Bill of Rights, because there has been so many things that the past government have been trying to do, but because of the rulings of the ACHR, they can't really do something, and they can't really wriggle out of it. And so she's putting it that, you know, not only do we need to get out EU as we have done, the UK has done, but even the ECHR is now useless and it needs to go. And that shows nationalism. That's another factor, nationalism of you know, being part of these international blocks that she wants. Conservatives are usually more national identity, emphasis on national identity. I think the people on the left are kind of more internationalist in nature. If that's with the Green Party, don't want a world without borders one day, where you don't have to have a passport.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know where that will come.
The rich made the borders anyway, so you know the ones there. So
guys, that has been Ideologies with MisterMarkGee and my co-driver Roger Moore. I hope you enjoyed it, bro.
Yeah,
listen,
bro.
If you like it, like, share, subscribe, follow us on Affinity Xtra. There'll be so much more. I'm having fun. I hope you're having fun. Roger, we got anything to say as we go?
Oh man, yo,
you want to do more, don't you?
Listen, bro. No, it's opening up people's minds. It's opening up my mind.
Yeah.
It's great.
Ideologies. God bless.
Man. Blessings, man.
Thank you for watching the content we're putting out. Listen, make sure that you are liking, subscribing and following us on all our social channels, including patreon.com. Make sure you're finding us on there to support what we do so we can support you. And remember, guys, be extra.